It's the lead play in our offense.
You tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man who is inside. Fullback, we tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle.
No one shows. He goes right by this and steals inside.
If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. If you'd like to email the show, you can send a message to PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text the show at 865-658-5824. Rolling solo this morning, but we've got a ton of streams coming up. I appreciate everybody for hanging out with us, making us a part of your day. We're going to be doing one later on with Jacob from the Packernet Fantasy Podcast, as well as getting Ryan Schlip on with us for the weekly recap tonight, somewhere around 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. The afternoon show should be around, I think, 1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern. And, man, we're just going through information right before training camp and getting really excited. I've been going back and watching that final stretch of the season where some would argue, other than the first 3 or 4 weeks before Aaron broke his thumb, that those last 5 weeks of the season was probably their best ball. And some people look at the Lions game and go, nope, I disagree. I completely understand that. But when you look back at how the defense played against the Lions, considering they had that explosive offense, they actually played pretty well. So kind of take everything into consideration when it comes to that. And what we're going to do is, I didn't get to take notes for every game that I'm breaking down, going back and getting that five game saturation of all 22 film. But I did take notes for the Rams game. And this was a fun one because I was actually in the house. Me and Jacob were there. Justin was there from the Packernet Fantasy Podcast. He and his awesome wife, Nicole, got to meet all kinds of people. Got to meet Drew, who obviously, we helped do some stuff as far as raising some money for his seizure service dog. Just got to meet a lot of awesome people while we were there in Green Bay. Hoping to make it back this year, but I'm really not sure if we're going to do it. The wife's trying to talk me into it, and I keep just swatting it away just because we've got so much we need to do here at home. And when I go to Green Bay, man, I don't want to just go up for a day or two. And that's what she's saying. Let's just go up for a couple of days. I'm like, no, I don't want to leave. Like, if it's anything less than 7 days, I don't want any part of it. So what we're going to do today is just kind of talk about the Rams, okay? Because we were in the house and it was a lot of fun. And what I've done is I've looked at the openers, okay? So both the Rams openers, which was 7 plays on their opening drive, excuse me, and then 11 plays for the Packers opening drive, okay? And the reason I like to key in on openers, and for those of you who don't know, what I mean by openers is typically the opening drive is scripted for offense and obviously defense as well. But when it comes to defense, you're kind of playing reactionary to what the offense is running. If they run 11 personnel, you're going to match nickel. And some teams are different. Some may go big nickel. Some may go to their base with a lighter base. We won't get into all those details. It definitely changes the fronts and things of that nature. But, the openers, it goes all the way back to Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh actually invented this when he was in Cincinnati with the great Paul Brown. And what he did was he was like, we already got an idea of how we're going to attack this offense. Why don't we go ahead and completely plan out and script our opening drive? And it doesn't mean you're going to go play by play on that script, but you've got a handful of plays where, let's say you've got the plays. And I was listening to his book the other day, The Winning Edge, right? And there was another book I've listened to so many Bill Walsh books, it's not even funny. But he was talking about, it doesn't mean you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right down the line with these plays. Okay. What it simply means is, you go 1, 2, okay, bang, we got a first down. Now we might jump ahead to the 14th play, or we might jump ahead to the 8th play. And then when we get in a short down yardage situation, then we jump back and go back to play 5. But you've got these openers that you feel like is geared around the game plan to attacking that specific defense that week. Okay, that's what I mean by openers. That's why when I watch tape, I put a bunch of stock into the openers, both on offense and defense, because that tells how the opposing team's going to attack your defense. And it also tells how your offense is going to attack their defense where you've seen their weaknesses. Okay. And basically what we came up with on defense, because the Rams had the ball first, was a seven play drive that ended in a punt. Okay. And then on the Packers offense, we actually had an extended drive that went 11 plays and ended with a field goal. Okay. And we're going to break them down. First of all, let's go to the phones here. We've got a caller on the line, and it looks like we've got Tim in Green Bay. Tim, how you doing, man?
Hey, Clayton, how's it going?
Oh, going great, man. Going great, dude. I'll tell you what, everybody who hops on this pod, we've got to adjust the volume a little bit. With you, man, you come through loud and clear, dude. You sound like Johnny Cash on that mic, bro.
Oh, that's awesome. Compared to the man in black, I'll take it. I'll take it.
All day long, right? How's your morning going, bub?
Man, I'm getting some coffee in me. The wife and I had a couple friends come up to town for a few nights, so they just are on their way back to Milwaukee, and I'm just hanging out in the garage being a dude, It's a beautiful Sunday morning.
Heck yeah, dude. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Summertime. This is the best part of summertime for me. Training camp gets geared up. Fall's right around the corner. Football season's right around the corner. I can't believe it, Tim. I think it's 2 weeks from Saturday is the first preseason game, right? Am I thinking right?
No, I'm something like that. I'm totally unprepared with no notes in front of me today, right?
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up right here. I don't know if you can see the screen.
I believe you're
right here.
There it is. You know what? That's in my queue on my printer because I'm going to be equipped with that guide. That is so awesome how you guys put that together. I love it.
Yeah, I would love to take some credit for it, but I had nothing to do with it. It was all Ryan and the rest of the guys at Packernet. They're phenomenal, dude. They've got it's great. And what we're referring to, guys, is the PDF you can get access to if you go to Ryan's Twitter page. I'm sure you can find it. Go to Packernet. I think it's at Packernet on Twitter. They've tweeted it as well. It's got the complete training camp schedule. It's got the regular season schedule. It's got the roster in numerical order. It's got the depth chart. I'll pop the depth chart up here real quick just so you guys can see that. That's what the depth chart looks like. They did a really, really good job putting that together. And I definitely appreciate the tools that they provide for us for sure. But yeah, so it looks like on the 11th. Yeah. So it's going to be 2 weeks from Saturday, and we got the shareholders meeting Monday. Did I understand correctly? You're going to be going to that?
Yes, I will be in the building tomorrow.
God, that's crazy. It is tomorrow. I don't know what day of the week it is, dude. That's one thing about when you're self-employed, when you're a business owner, Tim, I lose track of everything. Mandy has to remind me all the time. Hey, no, it's tomorrow's Saturday. You don't have to go do anything tomorrow. Oh, okay. Got it. It's just every day, constantly run.
Clayton, I totally relate, man. I had a business for about 5 years. I totally understand what it's like when you wear all of the hats, and what does a weekend even mean when you're working 70 to 90, 100 hours a week anyway? I mean, I relate, brother.
Well, I'm just going to keep you on the line here, man. I plan on going about 30 minutes for this live stream.
Okay.
What I wanted to do was just kind of talk about, I went back and watched the all-22 tape of the Rams game, and I want to kind of get an idea going into camp of what did Green Bay do that made this defense really amp it up at the end of the year. And, I know many people, we all are guilty of remembering the majority of what happened during an NFL season. It's very rare we remember how it ended unless it was either extremely good or extremely bad. With the Packers, it was just kind of like, we really didn't expect to make the playoffs, and we just kind of had a glimmer of hope going there, and playing Detroit at Lambeau in that last game. But that last stretch was actually really solid for the defense. And, if anything, I feel like the offense let us down. But what I'm going to do here is just kind of go back and talk about the plays on those opening drives for the Rams game. Okay, so if you'll just kind of tag along, any questions you got, any comments you got, and I'm definitely going to ask for your feedback. I'm going to rattle these off real quick. On defense, the Rams got the ball first. Obviously, they had a 7-play opening drive that ended in a punt. Okay, on first down, right? They came out in 11 personnel. We ran a nickel 2-4-5, and I want to talk fronts here. And the reason being, guys, I'm going to pop this up here too, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. This right here, and this was provided by Victory Sports. You guys go check out their website. They are freaking phenomenal. Love what they're doing over there with Coach Haddad and the family. Him, his dad, his brother. They're all coaching. They won the 2021 Staff of the Year award presented by USA Today for high school coaching staff, but they just do a really good job illustrating, orchestrating, organizing everything. But when I talk about these techniques, this gives you a visualization of the techniques we're talking about on the defensive line. Okay, so that first play, we came out in a nickel 2-4-5, matching their 11 personnel. We ran a 7. This is from left to right from the offense's perspective. What I like to say, Tim, is the Madden cam. Okay, if you're playing Madden football, this is that camera view. All right, behind the line of scrimmage, and you being behind the offense. So as I list these off, it was from left to right from the offense's perspective. 7 technique, 1 technique, 4 eye, and a 9 technique. Okay, now they gained 10 yards on this play, and it was a running play. And what did we talk about the last few episodes, Tim? How first down running is just horrendous, right? I think we were giving up like 6 yards a carry on first down. Wasn't that what we said, I believe?
Yep.
So when you look at this, what I like to do is kind of match the fronts and go, okay, what front were we in? We were in that 7-1-4-I-9. Okay, so if you look at the number systems, that means a 7 technique would have been on the outside shoulder of the tight end on the left if there had been one. A 1 technique is in between the center and the guard. And then you have a 4-I on the right side there, which is basically you're on the inside shoulder of the tackle. And then you have a 9 technique, which is a wide 9. That's about as far out there as you can get. It would be almost 1 gap over from the outside shoulder of the tight end if there had been one. Now, the thing that stood out to me on that play, though, and we'll have to go a little quicker than this to keep this thing under 30 or 45 minutes, Tim, but the thing that stood out to me on that play, they got 10 yards plus 10 on a first down run. It was a freaking beautiful play call. And the reason you know that is because as the play unfolded, you had number 55 and number 7. So you had J.J. Enagbare and Quay Walker in the backfield, and they both just missed tackles. So it's like perfectly schemed, missed tackles. That's how they got that first down. Okay. Second play, they come out in another 11 personnel. We matched it with the nickel 2-4-5 again. This time we came out in a wide 9 tech, a 2-eye, a 4-eye, and a 5. Okay. Now, on this play, again, this shows the inconsistency we talk about Quay Walker. Number 7, Quay Walker got great gap press, forced the running back into an alternate gap, and number 97, Kenny Clark, absolutely beat a double team like a drum, made the tackle. It was a negative 2-yard play, so they lost 2 yards on that run. Next play, again, 11 personnel. We come out in a nickel 2-4-5. We ran a 9-3, 2-eye, 9 front. Again, Kenny Clark, great read on a duo double team, allowed the double team. He held his ground until the double team shed it off to the next level. We won't get into all that with duo at the moment. Kenny makes the tackle almost in the backfield. They only gained 1 yard. So you're seeing there the first 3 plays, knowing the Rams scripted these plays to attack their weaknesses, players were in positions to make plays. That's what I'm seeing, okay? And others may see it different. I would hope others would go out and watch it, so it's not just, Clayton's defending Joe Barry here. That seems to be, it's hilarious, man. I was the Aaron Rodgers lover, and I'm defending Joe Barry. That's what I'm labeled with now. But I'm just telling you what I'm seeing on tape. Now, the very next play, it goes hand in hand with what we talked about, Tim, and then I'll get your take here in a second. They come at 11 personnel. Nickel 2-4-5 is what we match with. A 9, a 4-eye, a 5, a 9. And they ended up gaining 12 yards on a pass. And when you watch it, you can totally tell by and I know this by post-snap or post-play, I should say. You can literally see Rasul Douglas and Adrian Amos come up to each other, holding their hands up, going, "What are you doing?" Like, you can tell whether Rasul was wrong or Amos was wrong. One of those two guys played the wrong defense. What it looked like to me was it was supposed to be quarters drop, and rightfully so when there's, you need 12 yards to get a first down. That's pretty much a good play call. Amos got caught peeking into the flat, and he made it look as if he was supposed to play underneath. And that's where we're talking about man-match principles in this Fangio-style quarters defense. To me, it looked like he jumped the flat when he should have stayed at home, and by that happening, Rasul should have was playing his quarters drop deep, and it wasn't his responsibility to get underneath that passing play. So they literally allowed the receiver to sit in right beyond the sticks underneath the overtop coverage. That's what happened on that first down. Now, the next play, I won't rattle them all off again. I'll just kind of give you the result. 0 yards on a run. On that play, you had Devontae Wyatt did great in the B gap, and on that play, Rasul Douglas really played aggressive up on the edge and made the tackle. Phenomenal play there. The next play, 0 yards. It was actually incompletion. It was play action out of 11 personnel. You actually had Dean Lowry and TJ Slayton line up late, so they tried to quick snap it on him. So when I looked at that, I went, well, Lowry's gone. We don't have to worry about that anymore, Tim. But
Yeah.
Slayton's still here. But again, miscommunication. They were looking at each other like, am I supposed to go? And they had to switch to get in the right gap. And it shows you they were giving our starters a breather on that play, and the backups had no clue what to do, right? So they were lined up late. But the secondary did great. They showed great discipline on the naked bootleg and stopped the play there. And then, of course, the very last play was a passing play out of 11 personnel, nickel 2-4-5. We came out in a 9-4, 2-eye, 4-eye, and the 4-eye was actually Quay Walker, so he was mugging the B gap. And then we had a wide 9 on the opposite side. Because he mugged that B gap, it split the protection on the front. And what you basically had was Quay Walker in that 4-eye ended up doing a little bit of almost like a fire zone. He showed blitz, dropped out into coverage, played a little bit of rat underneath, and Preston Smith, the Wally vet, just used a speed rush off the outside and sacked them for a loss. That ended the drive. So based off of everything we just said there, Tim, what was running through your mind as we were describing that stuff? I mean, am I being too much of a Joe Barry fanboy here, or do you think most people aren't really kind of looking in depth into it? And it's just because I know there was times early in the season this defense really struggled. So I can understand that sentiment. But what do you think, man?
I mean, I think when it comes to being a Packer fan and trying to objectively look at anything, we're always going to be biased a little bit. But one of the things I love about your approach is that you're able to do that. You're looking at the scheme, you're looking at the technique, you're breaking down these plays, and it's not about being a Joe Barry fanboy. It's about this Fangio system and players playing within the scheme. And this is not brand new, but it's constantly evolving. And I say it all the time, players got to play. You have to know your assignment. I don't care if you're third on the depth chart. We might need you right now, and we might need you repeatedly. Games progress quickly. You have to be on your, lack of a better term, you got to be on your stuff, man, right? I mean, come on. So what I do see is when you talk about these plays where guys are like, hey, what are you doing? Why weren't you there? And then you're pointing the finger at me, I'm pointing the finger at you. Well, at least we're identifying that immediately that somebody screwed up, you know, because it could be worse. It could be two guys that are confused and neither one of them knows what the assignment was. So mixed communication, mixed signal, I'll take over completely missing it. So I think with time, as we go into this season, I do think we're going to see a little bit less of that. And that's one thing when we talked about Quay that I'm looking forward to in this second year is to see his on the fly reads and, like you said, get in there and finish in the plays, because dude he can blow these offenses up, man. He's very violent at that point of contact, and he's a play ender. He's a drive ender when he's in position and when he's finishing. So, you know, the gist of it, when you break down these drives, especially, man, these opening drives, there's nothing more frustrating than a 10-yard gain or 12-yard gain on first down. I don't care if it's on the ground or in the air. I mean, that is not how you want to start your game. So I think as these guys get more, I don't want to say the word comfortable, but I think more used to playing. And like you said, you got man principles mixed in with this zone, with this quarters. It's like, I think as guys come into their own within this system, I think we're going to see less of those mistakes. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I think you will. But, you know, one of the issues too, Tim, is like the game, and I know you know this, I'm just, you know, for podcast purposes, just mention it, is, first of all, Jacob in the house. Thank you for hanging out with us, Jacob. Appreciate it, man. Go Pack, go. You know, the game is constantly evolving. And that's what I've been trying to talk about on offense, and it shows up here in a second when I outline the offense. That the other team gets paid too, and they're constantly making adjustments. And you know, the documentary / podcast that Jordan Rodriguez did, phenomenal. The play callers, I cannot promote it enough.
Yes.
That's what I came away with. They talked about how everything changed. I mean, you took Shanahan's wide zone scheme. They go to Washington. They draft a mobile quarterback. They immediately installed the pistol and the read option. That had never been a part of Shanahan's offense. Mike, Kyle, anyone. But they said, okay, what does this quarterback do well? Let's put him in a position to succeed. Then, of course, they end up going to Atlanta. And when they go to Atlanta, they realize we got a smart quarterback and we've got a very athletic team. Let's install this turbo package and just kind of go muddle huddle, almost no huddle. A lot of people were predicting that the huddle itself would be completely out of the game within 5 years. Now, they were wrong on that prediction, but it was that popular at the time. Then, of course, you see McVay. He goes to the LA Rams. He takes LaFleur with him. LaFleur immediately installed that turbo package for Jared Goff when they got him. And Jared Goff, that's when he had his good year and got that contract that a lot of people believed he didn't deserve. At the time, nobody was arguing it because he took them to the Super Bowl and they had a lot of success with it, right? And then, of course, you've got Shanahan goes to San Francisco. When he gets to San Francisco, he looks up and goes, I've got one of the best fullbacks to ever play the game in Juszczyk. I'm switching to 21 personnel. So it's just constantly evolving. So back to what you said on defense, yeah, I think this defense started to settle in those last 4 or 5 weeks. But as we go into this year, how are teams going to attack it? Because guess what they're going to look at, gang? They're going to look at that last 4 or 5 game saturation and go, okay, what did they do good? We've got to adjust. And that's where it is going to take. That's where I do think Joe Barry's come up short at times. And I know some people are going, oh, how I can't believe Clayton's saying something bad about Joe Barry. Joe Barry's resume does not look good, guys. I completely acknowledge it. I did not understand the hire. I wasn't one screaming fire Joe Barry, especially after those last 5 games of the season. But I was one going, but if we can get Vic Fangio, yeah, I'd rather have Vic Fangio than Joe Barry. So I think they did swing and miss there. I wish they would have went after Fangio. But here's something that people don't talk about. And we are way off topic, and that's okay because I feel like this is good conversation. The people that are saying that that's stupid, we didn't go get Vic Fangio. Here's what would have happened if we went and got Vic Fangio. He is the assistant coach, to the best of my knowledge, in Miami. Okay, assistant head coach is a promotion. Everything in the NFL, you cannot block lateral moves. Okay, so let's say he did go get Fangio, right, as his assistant head coach. Who got promoted to assistant head coach in Green Bay this year? It was Rich Bisaccia. Yeah. Now, why did he get promoted to assistant head coach? Because by them promoting him, unless another team was willing to make him assistant head coach or a head coach, then that would be a lateral move. Therefore, that blocked anyone from getting Rich Bisaccia. So that in itself, you had to make a decision. Do you want Rich Bisaccia as your special teams coordinator, or do you want Vic Fangio as your defensive coordinator, right? And I think that when push came to shove, Mark Murphy, Brian Gutekunst, Matt LaFleur sat down and said, all right, here are our choices. We definitely don't want to lose Rich. And Joe Barry and this defense really cranked it up the last 5 games of the season. So to me, I think they made the right move when you take all that into consideration. What do you think, man?
I would agree with that. I would totally agree with that statement. And, the whole reason too is, let's be honest, what Rich Bisaccia came here and did with the special teams unit, in 1 year, like I had said going into 2022, like if the special teams can just not be a dumpster fire, we'll be okay. We don't need to be a top 10 special teams unit. We just can't have these catastrophic mistakes. And then so he comes in and turns that around, rights the ship, and then you combine that with his last year with the Raiders and what he did after Gruden's exit. I mean, you got to look at Bisaccia, and yeah, that's a valuable piece. So I think when they were making these decisions, that certainly played a huge role because, I mean, I sat there for that game in Lambeau against San Francisco and watched our special teams basically cost us that game.
Yep.
And we tend to overlook the importance of special teams. And you really only notice how important it is when it's hurting you, when your special teams play is hurting you. So I think that had a lot of weight, almost as much as the consideration for what Fangio brings to the table as a D coordinator / assistant head coach. Because, we know this is a business, Clayton. It's like you said, guys are trying to move up, and being promoted in this league is, you hear about like that Play Callers podcast, man. These guys talking about, the Piss Boys and what they had to do to get to where they are. And now you look at these guys, man, they're all head coaches, man.
Yeah.
You got to put in your grind. You got to take your licks. And so when there's opportunity, you got to take whatever you can get. And sometimes it ain't up to you, man. These GMs and this is a business, man. So there are multi-pronged approach when it comes to making decisions like that. But I think what it all boils down to, Clayton, is, I love the scheme more than I love the coordinator or the coach. Because at the end of the day, if the scheme is sound and the players are playing within it and we're embracing it and believing and we're executing, you can say what you want about who's out there, they're calling it,
Yeah, no, I think it's very well said. And it's just, coming to the realization and helping other people come to the realization that, everything is so fluid and ever changing. Jacob actually in the chat here mentions this. Let's read it off here. He said, today on Ryan's pod, on the Packernet podcast, he broke down how the league is a very dominant pass heavy league, to the point that having a fantastic running offense, aka the Bears, is basically pointless when they break down. It's absolutely. I'm going to read his following comment here, and then we'll go back to what he just said. He said, the numbers and analytics, do you see the league ever going back to a run dominant league, or at least the running back role getting more money / priority? I think it's a very straightforward answer, Jacob. The running backs that are getting paid, first of all, we gotta say this. There's many people that say, oh, the running backs deserve more money, right? And here's how I look at it from a business perspective, from a consumer perspective, everything. Something is only worth what another human being is willing to pay for it. That's what it comes down to. Like, if you're selling a house and let's say you paid, $100,000 for that house, just an even number, and you go to sell it and you say, well, I think it's worth $130,000 now. So you put it on the market for $130,000. That doesn't mean it's worth that. Just because you say it's worth that doesn't mean it's worth that. Now,
yeah, you might take 99 when it's all said and done.
Exactly. Hey, been there, done that, got the t-shirts. Why I got out of real estate. So when you look at it and you go, okay, you look at that same house and you go, okay, someone hops up and they say, hey, look, I'll give you $130,000, or I'll give you $110,000 for it. And then someone else comes in and goes, well, I want it worse. I'll give you $120,000. Now you've got a bidding war. What you've got now is they've both fallen in love with this home, this product, this service, whatever you insert, whatever. They've both fallen in love with it. Now what you've got is a low supply and a high demand. So those two are going to overpay or be willing to overpay for that same service, that product, that good, whatever it is, right? That's how the market drives it. So when you look at running backs, you go, Ezekiel Elliott was one of the best running backs in the last 10, 15 years to run between the tackles. Why is he still a free agent? I'll tell you why. Because he's not a factor in the passing game, and the passing game is absolutely huge in the NFL. Now, Aaron Jones. Everybody said we overpaid Aaron Jones. There's no way we can – all the salary cap gloom and doomers were screaming there is absolutely no way we can afford to pay Aaron Jones. What did they do? They went out and gave him a contract with the flexibility where they knew in 2 or 3 years the market would probably stabilize and they could save money on the back end of that contract, and that's exactly what they did. Now, why are they willing to pay him that kind of money? Because he is such a factor in the passing game.
Pass game, yep.
That's it. So Ryan hit the nail on the head. Now, back to the original comment. He said he broke down how the league is a very dominant pass-heavy league, to the point that having a fantastic running offense, a.k.a. the Bears, is basically pointless when they break down. I could not tell you how many times I watch, and this is me, and I'm going to get hated for this. I know I am. I watched Justin Fields his rookie year. I believe he started his rookie year. It was when he first took over as a starter, and I remember seeing him throw balls and go, man, he's not that bad. Like that was a nice 12-yard out route. That was a pretty throw. He seems to have a decent arm. But then what I noticed was when the game was on the line and they were forced to pass and the defense knew they were passing, he turned into hot garbage. Now, that could change. You guys know I'm on the record saying I am not ready to write him off that he's just an absolute bust. But what I have right now, the information I have right now, suggests he is not a good quarterback. One of the best rushing quarterbacks in history, but not a good passing quarterback. So when, like he said, it's pointless when they break down, when the running game, when they start to stack the box, right, and take away the running game, and now he's got to pass. And now these defenses are showing some of that fire zone, some of that stuff like I talked about, Quay walking up in a 4-eye tech. You got a 5-man front, then him dropping into coverage. All of a sudden, they ran a little curl route, too, that was like the safety valve for Baker Mayfield, and he completely crapped the bed. He was just like, he looked up, Quay was there, he hesitated. By that time, Preston Smith screaming off the edge, sacked him. I don't know, it was something like an 8 or a 10-yard loss, ended the drive. They had to punt. Me and Jacob were in the house for that one. Yeah, I think Ryan absolutely nailed it, man. He hit it on the head. So back to your question now, Jacob, and I want to get Tim's take on this too. The numbers and analytics, do you see the league ever going back to a run-dominant league, or at least the running back role getting more money / priority? I do not see any scenario currently where a running back that's a one-trick pony, he could be the best running back in the league as far as toting the rock, right? If they're not willing to contribute in the passing game, then I don't see them, I don't see them getting paid. I just don't. Now, here's the other thing, Tim. Who's one of the best running backs in the league? It's Nick Chubb, right? I mean, you hand Nick Chubb the ball. I believe it's Nick. I get him and Bradley Chubb mixed up. I believe it's Nick Chubb in Cleveland. You hand him the rock between the tackles, and he is freaking unstoppable. But what I say unstoppable, what do defenses do? They load up that box and take away that run, and it's okay. Well, then Cleveland should be able to pass, right? Now, granted, Deshaun Watson, whether you love him or hate him, it makes no difference to me. I talk football on this podcast. I don't talk about personal stuff and politics and all that BS. Whether you love him or hate him, now you've got to go, okay, is he going to be able to adjust this year and get back to that 2020 form where, like Ryan said, he was one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league? If he doesn't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a hill of beans whether Nick Chubb can run the football or not, because teams are going to load that box. They're going to shut down the run, and you've got to have a quarterback that can beat those kind of looks. Baker Mayfield wasn't good enough to beat us against the Rams. And I know Jacob would agree. Packers didn't play lights out in that Rams game, but there wasn't any point there in that game where I was like, yeah, man, I'm worried about this one. It just felt like, nah, we're going to come out on top with this one. It's just going to. Now, Detroit felt totally the opposite. Even when we were winning, I believe, there for a little bit, I was going, this don't feel good. It's just don't. But what do you think as far as running backs there, Tim? You got any comments on that?
I think you could apply that almost across the board. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Like, other than kicker, maybe, like you've got to be multifaceted in your position group in this league. With running back, maybe even more so. Like you said, to your point, like you can be a beast up the middle, man, and that's great. But can you roll out to the flat and catch a ball and turn upfield? Can you, could you run a little skinny post if we need you to? How good are you in pass pro as a blocker? Something as simple as that. So, this league, I always say, whatever we talk about, it's almost like, if you know about the Marines, right? The Marine Corps motto, adapt, improvise, overcome. Like, that's what you have to do in this league, whether you're a coach, whether you're the water boy, whether you're the equipment guy, whether you're selling hot dogs in the stands, whatever, like everything comes at you quick, very quick. And we alluded to this before with these rookies, man. You got to keep your eye on the rookies because speed of the game, pace of play, these are things that can really mess you up if you're not on the ball. So to bring it back full circle to Jacob's original point in question was, do we see the game ever kind of evolving back to where maybe the run is a little more prevalent or emphasized more? And I would say maybe once we get to the point where the passing game is taken over so much that we now see offenses trying to revert back to the old power I and trying to, Walter Payton run over you. Like, who cares what you put in the box? We're just going to bang heads and we're going to run the football. You hear a lot of people say, run the damn ball, run the damn ball. Well, if it's working, sure.
Right.
But, if it's not, nobody wants to see their team stopped on 3rd and 1 stuff because you're trying to just, jam it down their throats all the time. This game is built off, adapting, improvisation. It's, one of the things, we loved so much, at least me personally, one of the things I loved so much about Aaron Rodgers was his ability pre-snap to read a defense and then check and get the defense to do what he wants it to do, and then immediately check out to the third play and run something totally different, and we're lighting them up. Adaptability You got to improvise. You have to be versatile, whether it's running back or any position, honestly, in this league. So, I mean, I think the more things change, the more they say that stay the same, and things can be cyclical. And, maybe 5-10 years, I don't know, maybe the league trends back that way. We see hard-nosed power football all the time again. I don't know. I missed the 60s and the 70s and the old Iron Man age of this game that we love. But today, man, it's about being smart. It's about being fast. It's about learning quickly. How can you adjust mid-drive, mid-game, mid-play? So I don't know. I'm just going to ramble on forever, Clayton, if you let me. So
No, you're good, dude. You're good.
Don't let me go too long.
I'm the same way, man. I tell you, I get excited talking football, and it's like Dusty Evely was saying the other night. When we were on a live, he said, man, I find myself listening to a podcast, an audio book, or whatever he was talking about, and then I find myself daydreaming, going, I wonder if they could do this, and I've missed 7 minutes of the podcast because I'm thinking. Just rambling internally. So I completely relate. But you wasn't rambling. That's all good stuff. Jacob also said, are we surprised the fullback position hasn't adapted to this new league of passing and pass protection? Kyle Juszczyk, why isn't there more of these top hybrids? Where do they come from, Jacob? All right. Where do they come from? They come from college football, right? So in many cases, college football is kind of a step ahead of the NFL. Now, I'm not suggesting that you could take any college team or a college all-star team and compete with any NFL team. I'm not saying that. They're much, much stronger, much faster, much everything in the NFL, right? Much more everything. But the college game, and we talked about this with Jake Shavink from the It's Always Draft Season podcast, who was on the other night. College is always kind of one step ahead of the NFL as far as schematics go. Right. And when you look at it, you go, okay, let me do it this way, Jacob. Name the best fullback in college football. Right. I know I can't do it because many offenses in college football, with the exception of, some of the academies that run the triple option and all that stuff, it's just not in the playbook. You've got a lot of air raid. You've got a lot of RPO offense that's kind of come out of Alabama, right, with Steve Sarkisian. And you've got now in Tennessee, you've got kind of this split field offense that they run, which is one of the reasons why many people didn't believe in Hendon Hooker. But, of course, Hendon Hooker, as we can see in reading Kurt Benkert's book or, little package he put together, Football 101, that's exactly what Green Bay does. They come to the line of scrimmage, they look at the defense, they split it down the middle and go, okay, they're showing 6 over there, they're showing 2 over there, or showing quarter, half. All right, look, let's do this. Here's the play on the left side of the field. Here's the play on the right side of the field. And you're trying to match concepts up with weaknesses that would match up well against those specific defenses, because now it's not just cover 4 defense, cover 2 man. You've got all of these hybrids mixed in where you may have a quarter, half. And when you throw in Fangio's style, the reason it is so popular, it's so successful, is because the offense has to read it post-snap. There is nothing given to them pre-snap. A quarterback wants to come to the line of scrimmage and get as much information as possible, right? And then say, okay, here's where I think I need to look for my first read. Now, if you're just showing 2 safeties on the shelf, you're showing that quarters look 90% of the time, there's nothing for them to read. So everything has to be read post-snap, right? So it's just how the game has evolved. But my answer to you is college isn't churning out the old school fullbacks like they did back in the day, because there were so many offenses that just ran I formation. They run power I, the things that Tim was just talking about. It's a fascinating comment and mention. I think that's why some teams, including the Packers, will take a swing on your Vitalis and people like that who've got just a crazy RAS score. They go, all right, if anybody's talented enough to do it, it's him. But then when you look at the schematics and you go into self-scouting from last year and scouting your upcoming opponents' last 4-game saturation of what they're doing on defense, I guarantee you what these coaches are coming away with. They're going, I can't go to a fullback here. We're going to have the protection on the line. If we're going to go anything other than 11 personnel, we're going 12. What did the Packers do? If you we always had a saying in business, if you want to show me your priorities, show me your calendar and your checkbook. That'll show me what's important to you, right? You show me where you're spending your time and where you're spending your money. That'll show me what's most important in your life. And some people are going, shut up, Clayton, that hurts. I've been there. I know I've wasted a lot of money and a lot of time in my life. But when you look at when you look at how teams are spending their draft capital and where they're spending their salary cap, that tells you exactly what they're thinking. What did the Packers do? Second and third round picks at tight end. I kind of feel like Josiah DeGuara might be on his way out because this whole H-back, fullback thing just didn't pan out with Matt LaFleur. Now, if they try to incorporate more 21 personnel, just assuming that you're going to, pretend that Josiah DeGuara is a second running back, is that fullback. Most of the time, though, they've got him kind of lined up in the H wing. So it kind of tells you where they're going. So I don't know. That's how, and the calendar aspect of that analogy, that comparison would be, how are you lining up on offense? And that really says where the offensive scheme, that coach, that offensive coordinator are going. Jacob says, imagine if Mike Allstott could catch like modern pass catching running back. Dude,
oh
Mike
my gosh.
Did you get a chance to watch him, Tim?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm familiar.
God, he was a
God,
beast.
was he a beast, man? He was a beast.
And when I'm talking to people, whether I'm at a sports bar watching ball or something, or anywhere, just having a conversation on social media, Facebook, whatever, if somebody says, who's Mike Allstott, I go, whoa, go to YouTube right now and just type in Mike Allstott highlights. I don't need to tell you a thing. Just go.
I don't think he ever once ran around anyone. It was either over you or through you.
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
And dragging defenders with him along the way. Like you might wrap up, but he's not going down.
Right. Exactly. All right. So we were going to get into offense. I'm going to save these. I'm going to save them for later when Jacob jumps on, because I've got 11 plays on offense. I thought this was great, Tim. Like this, we really got into some deep conversation about this defense. And again, just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea. People make it sound as if Joe Barry's just lining up the same way and playing off the ball, and they're just doing all this stuff that ain't. Guys, I mean, I read them off to you. A 7-1-4-I-9, 9-2-I-4-I-5, 9-3-2-I-9, 9-4-I-5-9, 9-1-4-I-9, 7-3-1-7. 9-4-2-I-4-I, which was a backer, Quay Walker mugging the B gap, and a 9 with a 5-man front. There's not one combination there that they ran 2 times in a row. Barry's mixing things up, both on the front and on the back side, whether they're playing Meg, Mod, Rat, whatever, with this, man match principles. They're mixing things up. But again, of those 7 plays that I broke down on the opener of the Rams game, in 7 plays, there was 2 plays where there was miscommunication, and 1 play where they should have had a 3-yard loss where 2 defenders missed the tackle. And I'm not here trying to pretend like I could tackle better than an NFL player, but I couldn't tackle better than a peewee player right now. I am old, fat, and out of shape. I'm just saying this is what tape is suggesting is actually happening. And it's what I seen last year, and we tried to explain on Chalk Talk. But I understand people get frustrated and they're so passionate about the Packers and they just want to see a great dominant defense. Guys, I do too. I really do too. What I don't want to happen though is us fire another defensive coordinator, and now we've got 2 years for them to learn a new defense, and then on and on and on. If you brung Fangio in, you wouldn't have had to scrap it. You already have 1 step ahead, and you've got the man of all mans teaching the defense. But you've got to add in that caveat, that understanding that, hey, look, if we had brung Fangio in, that means we lose Rich Bisaccia. I guarantee it. I guarantee you the 2 teams that were interviewing him for head coaching jobs, what they would have said is, you come in and run our special teams, we'll promote you to assistant head coach, and we'll give you a pay increase. And what LaFleur and Goody and Murphy decided was, you know what? He has really stabilized this special teams. It's going in the right direction. And, oh, by the way, if you don't bring Rich Bisaccia back, Keyshawn Nixon ain't coming back. I'm sorry. So keep that in mind, too, that when that was going down, if you guys remember, I was going, God, please let him promote Rich Bisaccia before Keyshawn signs somewhere else, because he's going to follow Rich Bisaccia. If Rich Bisaccia had got a head coaching job, or they hadn't gave him the promotion to assistant head coach and he'd went somewhere else, I guarantee you Keyshawn will be playing for that team. Because I feel like we got Keyshawn for a bargain, especially considering that now we've got an incentive-based contract around interceptions and him playing that slot nickel role as well as returning kicks. And I'm really excited to see Jaden Reed take over punt returns. I hope that happens. And some people are going, but I want Keyshawn returning punts too. To me, he wasn't nearly as dynamic on punt returns as he was kick returns. But it's pretty darn cool to have Keyshawn Nixon in the hole there in the on-deck circle in case Jaden Reed goes down, if Jaden Reed is your number one punt return, and vice versa too. So that's why I really think that Jaden Reed pick, after going back and look at the 2021 tape, was just an excellent draft pick, man. It really, really
Man, I
was.
totally agree with that, Clayton, because think about this. If we're going to use Keyshawn more on defense, you go out there and you know, I like your term, you just boat race that offense and get a 3 and out, or maybe it was a long grinding drive. You've played a lot of snaps, and now we forced them to punt, and now you're going to go back there and return that punt. You know, we want our returner to have fresh legs. So I think flipping it around, like you said, have Keyshawn on the kickoffs. And let's see Jaden Reed, man, that's lightning in a bottle, man. I'm telling you, this is going to be fun, man. We're almost there, Clayton. We're almost there.
Yeah, I'm Jack. Let's pull it up. Well, let me do this real quick. I'm just going to read off the projected defensive depth chart on the front. We've been talking fronts here. We've been talking defense. All right. This is from, if you'll go to Twitter and follow @PackerNet, you'll be able to get this information. It's completely free. I know there's a lot of training camp guides out there that people are selling. I'm sure they're worth every dime. This is just very short, concise, to the point. It gives your training camp schedule. It gives your depth chart. It gives your entire numerical roster. It gives the full schedule. I love how it's laid out as well. But just going across the board here before we wrap up, just talk about this projected defense, okay? And we're kind of projecting it here with it's not in a 34 or a nickel front at all. They've got kind of the slot corner up top. I guess it is technically a nickel. Your starters, according to PackerNet in the early projection, this is going to be a living document too. So this is something that's going to change as we get more information coming out of camp. Defensive end, you've got Devontae Wyatt. Nose tackle, you've got Kenny Clark, which is cool because Kenny actually really moved around a lot. I wouldn't mind to see him just play nose. And of course, when you're in the nickel, bounce around a bit. But they've got it nose tackle, Kenny, defensive end, Devontae Wyatt. And then on the edge at outside linebacker, you got Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith once Gary is healthy. You got JJ Nabare and Lucas Van Ness as their backups. I just want to mention that simply because Rashawn Gary probably going to start on PUP, I would imagine. Inside linebacker, you got Quay Walker and Devondre Campbell. And then at corner, you've got on the boundary, Jair Alexander, Rasul Douglas. In the slot, you got Keyshawn Nixon. Right now, the way it sits at safety, it's listed free safety and strong safety. Of course, you guys know how I've talked about with the Fangio system. Both those safeties have to be able to do both. And you heard the DB coach, the secondaries, I think it's the passing game coordinator on defense, talk the other day. He said, I want both safeties to be able to do everything. That's what we were talking about, because there is late spin off both sides in this defense, and they need to be able to tackle and cover. Gone are the days of we just need a really athletic safety to cover center field. That's just, those days are kind of gone, especially with this defense. But we got Rudy Ford at strong safety, Darnell Savage at free safety. Again, remove the F and the S and just call them both safeties, in my opinion. That's how that looks like it's going to play out. So that's what you're going to expect going into training camp. And again, I'm going to pull the schedule up one more time here. Obviously, I don't know when this is going to go live on pod, but we got the shareholders meeting tomorrow, Monday at 11 a.m. I know we'll have Tim there. Tim, I'd like to maybe hop on a call with you here in the next 24 hours, just see what your takeaways was, what's the vibe was like. And then on the 25th, Tuesday, veterans report to camp. And then we got our first open practice on Wednesday, the 26th. We made it, Tim. We made it, dog.
Man, it's here. I'm so excited, Clayton. This is going to be awesome. I might even see if I can sneak and get a little look through the fence line on one of these closed practices till they kick me out of there. You never know.
Hey, I'll tell you this. If you're willing to get aggressive, we're willing to we'll come together with a GoFundMe and bail you out of jail. All right, how about that? And we'll get you a fake identity so you can get back in the Lambo later, because you know they're going to ban you. So, I love it. You literally put life on hold, move some stuff around so you can move to Green Bay and get closer to the team. And now you're being a part of this network for less than a year. You're going to get literally banned from going to a game. We ain't going to do that. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back, like I said, at 2:30 Eastern time. It's 1:30 Central with Jacob. He's going to, I guess, shut down the smoke shop up there, the meat smoking shop, not the devil's lettuce. We're not talking about the evil cabbage. We're talking about smoking meat. All right. That sounded bad too. Let me just go ahead and hit it.
That's what she said.
All right. We're out of here, guys. It's off the rails. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us in the chat. Everybody watching on YouTube and Twitter. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go Pack Go.
He's set for Heineke on third down. Four-man rush. Heineke hit as he throws. It is ripped away by Devondre Campbell. And he's got plenty of green grass in front of him. Devondre Campbell, pick six, Green Bay. Back to the pick.
Yeah, now everybody's covered. There's J.D. McKissick, there's Devondre Campbell. Watch him play this. It's going to be a little in and out. You're going to press inside like you're crossing, bounce out, reads it well, eyes on the quarterback. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. Not just J.D. McKissick. Everybody was covered on that play. We talked about Taylor Heineke taking that next step with